What's up, everybody? It's Mick from When You Look. This is the story of the 2015 Toyota Highlander. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to When You Look, where ordinary people share their extraordinary experiences, and you get to decide, was it coincidence or God? So it's late summer of 2020, and I've just launched my own consulting business. Now, my vehicle at this point is a 2016 Toyota Tundra, and our other family vehicle is a 2016 Toyota Sequoia. Both of these vehicles have a 5.7 liter V8 in them, and they are not great for gas mileage. As I start to launch the consulting business, it's pretty clear that zipping around town in the Toyota Tundra is just really not going to work. Not only does the gas mileage create a challenge with the dollars and cents and the cost of gas, but even parking the thing isn't all that easy. And so truly zipping around really wasn't much of an option. So I had this idea, and it really wasn't my own idea because it kind of came out of nowhere. And that was Highlander Hybrid. I thought about it for about a day or so, and then I did a tiny bit of research on them and realized I was like, wow, we've previously had a Toyota Highlander. We really liked it. And the gas mileage on a Highlander Hybrid is even better, like significantly better, at least according to the specs. Maybe this could be something that would make sense. But admittedly, hybrids really weren't exactly our thing. As you can tell, we had two vehicles that had 5.7 liter V8s in them. So it's a bit out of the ordinary for me to be thinking Highlander Hybrid. But I talked to my wife about it and I said, hey, listen, I just want to run an idea by you. I'm like, it's challenging for me with the Tundra, running around town with the new business. How would you feel if we sold the Tundra and bought a Highlander Hybrid? And without hesitation, she was like, I'm good with it. And I'm like, oh, wait, really? I mean, it was one of those things where because we're a very thoughtful couple, we make decisions together. I was fully anticipating that there was going to be more discussion. And my wife's response was, no, that makes sense. I'm good with it. My wife's only question to me was, are you going to be okay with this? Because we had actually sold a Toyota Highlander in order to fund the Toyota Tundra. And my response to her was, yeah, I'm totally fine with this. This will be a complete non-issue. The Highlander that we sold was white with a cream interior, and it was primarily my wife's car. And we bought a Tundra that was silver with a gray interior, because that was going to be primarily my car, and that was the styling and the color key that I sort of liked. So I got agreement from my wife to have the Highlander Hybrid be silver and gray, just like the Tundra was. And I said to her, I'm like, are you going to be able to live with that? And she's like, yeah, you're going to be driving it primarily, so it'll still kind of be your car. So yes, not a big deal. You can have the silver and the gray. I'm like, okay, great. So I find a silver one in Northern Virginia, and I find a white one in the greater Richmond area. And I decide I'm going to go look at the silver one. And if that doesn't work out, I'll potentially go look at the white one. So I drive a number of hours from greater Richmond up to the dealership in Northern Virginia and check it out. All seemed fine. So I got in the vehicle and then took it for a test drive. And the test drive just left something to be desired. It had been a couple of years since we'd had our own Highlander, but this one for some reason just seemed a little bit noisier. And I couldn't put my finger on it because I'm like, this is the same exact car. It's literally shaped the same. It's a different color, but it's otherwise equipped the same. But this one just doesn't seem like it's as quiet as the one that we had. And when I got back to the dealership and parked it, it just seemed like it was small. And the more I considered that, the more I realized that the Tundra with the gray interior was great. It was roomy and bright. And in contrast, because the Highlander was narrower and a smaller and tighter car, it seemed a lot darker and not nearly as appealing in gray. So I left there and drove many hours back to the greater Richmond area and then even further south to this other dealership. And I get to the other dealership, start speaking with somebody there about the white Highlander Hybrid. And they give me the keys to it. And I go out to the vehicle. And as I sat in the vehicle, the moment my butt touched that seat and I closed the door, I knew this is the one. Literally knew it. It was a complete knowing, a complete degree of confidence. And in a way, the exact opposite of what I had experienced in the silver and gray one, where that one was kind of just like, something just kind of seems off. Sitting in the white one with the tan interior, I knew this is it. In fact, I was so convinced of that, I knew at that moment, I don't even need to drive this. I'm literally good to buy it, which is insane when you think about it. Because of course you're not going to buy a new car or a used car without test driving it, right? And so ultimately I did test drive it, but I remember putzing slowly through the parking lot at the dealership thinking, this is a waste of time. I know I don't need to actually drive this thing. This is the vehicle that I'm supposed to buy. I take it for a test drive. I call my wife. I'm like, hey, get a load of this. This is the vehicle for us. I'm going to move forward with this. And she's like, okay, sounds like you're really clear on this. I'm like, I'm 100% locked in. This is the vehicle for us. So I tell her, I'm like, I'm going to head inside, try and negotiate a little bit more off of this thing, and I'll keep you posted. Well, I go in and I begin the negotiation process with the sales guy. And he sort of like hears me out for a second. And then he says, hey, man, I'm sorry to let you know this, but we're a haggle-free dealership. And I'm like, really? There's nothing that says that anywhere. He's like, yeah, we're fixed price, dude. It is exactly what it is. Do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. So I was a little disappointed because I was fired up and like ready to get $500 knocked off of this or something. It turns out that that was impossible because they didn't negotiate that way. And so I end up buying the vehicle. And one of the things that was really cool about this and the way that God worked all of this through is that we were going to sell the Toyota Tundra, but we hadn't yet sold it because we needed that as our second vehicle. Despite having launched my consulting business, my employer that I was leaving was totally aware of that and asked me to stay through the end of September. So I needed a loan in order to purchase this vehicle for the handful of days or handful of weeks it would take for us to then sell the Tundra to then pay off the Highlander that I was buying. And the beauty here is that because I was still employed, the application for the loan was completely painless. Having a great credit score, good income, all of that type of stuff made it literally plug and play. And I was able to purchase that vehicle without any issues. Why? Because God had orchestrated all of that. So it wasn't but a couple of weeks later, 2, maybe 3, that we ended up selling the Tundra, and then we paid off the Highlander. And I'm out to lunch with a buddy of mine, and I'm explaining this whole scenario. And I said, Michael, here I am. I'm like ready to go. I want to get $500 off of this thing. And I know it's a pretty good deal already, but I'm like, I'm going to get another $500 off of this. And he says to me, God pre-negotiated it. And I'm like, you are totally right. Because the white Highlander Hybrid was a couple $1,000s less than market value. It was a couple grand less than the silver one. And it was exactly the car for us. sitting at a dealership where I didn't have to do anything other than come in and buy it. So God had quite literally pre-negotiated it. The question that we ask our guests often is, was all of this coincidence or God? And I'm going to tell you flat out, without question, this is God. Because the idea of a hybrid came from him, not something normal for us, period. The idea of going back to a Highlander from what we had before came from him. The fact that my wife was completely on board from the outset, an indication came from him. Then having two vehicles available at the same time in the colors that we kind of liked, and knowing one, the silver one, not the right one, and then knowing the white one, 100% that's the one, him. The loan being easy peasy, him. The price point pre-negotiated and thousands of dollars less, him. He provided the whole thing. And by God's grace, it still sits in our driveway. So how has my life changed as a result of this? Well, it's just been another example of God providing. So when I need a reminder, I can look at that car. I can remember his provision. It's a clear and tangible example, and I have so many of them. So many of them. What I call my personal mountains of evidence, separate from all the stuff that I've seen in the Bible. Our family has been blessed with its own mountains of evidence. And this is just another one. The 2015 Toyota Highlander Hybrid that sits in our driveway is the car God prepared for us to have. So he gets all the glory in this one. And you may feel differently, but that's the beauty of When You Look. Ordinary people like me sharing an extraordinary experience. And then you get to decide, was it coincidence or God? Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. We welcome your feedback. We'd love to hear what you have to say about it. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe, because subscriptions help with reach, and reach helps more people hear these stories for God's glory. And that extends the glory that he gets. Until next time, thanks a bunch for listening. God bless, and all hail King Jesus.